Hello, ni hao. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chit Chat by Mandarin Together, where two Taiwanese moms, Trista and YaoYao, share their experiences in raising bilingual children, exploring identity, code switching, and embracing the joys and challenges of bilingual parenting. Come along with us on this exciting journey.
Welcome back to another episode of Mandarin Mama Chit Chat. There are a couple of things I want to address. First, make sure you guys go to our show notes to download all the free resources Trista and I created. I think it's going to help you a ton. There are tons of freebies in there. Second of all, please bear with us in this episode. This episode took a left turn. We were going to interview my dear friend Jennifer. However, she was caught up with work, so she was a little late. So Trista and I got started. And then she actually jumped in. So I was like, let's continue with our conversation. So she actually joined our conversation a little bit later. So there was a little chaotic. So please bear with us. But we will officially introduce Jennifer back next episode. I want to officially introduce her and share her story. I think she has a lot to offer, a lot of valuable lessons she's just very adamant teaching her two kids Mandarin. All right, let's get started. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. Today, YaoYao and I will be discussing, sharing the traditional Chinese family values with you guys. But keep in mind, we're talking about traditional. So it's really not a lot. Some of them aren't really being practiced nowadays anymore. But we just think this will be a valuable lesson information to learn about. So let's dive in. So I will start. So at first, filial piety, 孝顺. Not sure is that a word that you're familiar with, but basically what it is parents. So everything we have, we owe to our parents because they bring us to this world, they raise us, they bring us up. So the whole idea is our parents raise us. So when they are aged, they're old, it's our responsibility to take great care of them. So that has some other customs also being developed as well, such as back in ancient China, back in the day, for sangli, for the funeral, you are actually supposed to be 守丧 for 3 years because for the first 3 years as an infant, right, your parent did everything for you. And so that, but now it obviously is not feasible, but it's just really important for people to keep that in mind and just always be thinking of their parents. So it has this kind of hierarchy relationship is no matter what we do, how far we go, all of our accomplishments, we owe it to our parents. Is there anything else that I left out on 孝顺?
No, I didn't know that. That was so interesting and good to learn about that 3 years from back in the days. Wow,
Yeah.
that's definitely something new for me to learn. But I believe even till this day, 孝顺 is still very ingrained to every one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps I know Taiwanese, Chinese for sure, maybe like other Asian country as well. 孝顺 is huge, and this is so different from the American culture too. So we do have a sense of responsibility when our parents are older. Like we are responsible to take care of it. And actually, it's interesting. Depends on the order of your birth. If you are 哥哥, big brother, or big sister, right? It depends if you're a boy or girl. If you are, for example, the oldest son, that means you have the most responsibility. If I'm correct.
Yeah.
So for example, my husband, he is the oldest son, so he will have more on his shoulder, and it just for the older generation, it's you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to take care of us when they're older. You're supposed to take us in, right? And just taking my in-laws as an example, like they would expect us when they're older, when they can't function anymore, they can live by themselves, or when they are alone, if one of them pass, they expect for us to take them in our house. If we say, just for this is just example, hey, you have to go to a nursing home. I have to work. I have to take in my kids. I have our own family. That's like disgrace. You can't do that. That is just not the culture. So if you like, for example, when I go back to Taiwan and if I look on the news and see family members, people on the street, you see like children, like older children, adult children, like really taking care of their parents. And if you don't, it's not like we care about people's judgment, but people will judge. Like, what kind of son or daughter are you not taking care of your elderly parent? And they took care of you all their life, and 很不孝顺, that's what they will say.
Yeah. So I can share a little bit.
Yeah.
From my side, so my dad, so I grew up with my grandparents, well, my parents as well. So it's another common custom that the sons would actually stay with the parents, or I guess the grandparents, right? They stay in the same house so that it's easier to take care of them, especially when the grandparents are older. Well, for my grandparents, 阿公阿嬷. And then what YaoYao was saying was also like, yeah, it's a children's responsibility to take care of the parents when they're old and when they can no longer work or support themselves, right? But traditionally, it's only for the sons because they believe in traditional Chinese culture is when a girl, I guess a woman, gets married, she now belongs to her husband's side of the family. And she's no longer, well, I don't say no longer part of her original family, but I guess she loses. So traditionally, the females do not inherit 财产. They don't.
The wealth.
Right. They don't get anything that the parents have left behind. But then in the same time, they are not they're not responsible. They are not expected to take care of her parents. But now she belongs to her husband's side of the family, right? So she has to take the husband's side of the family. Now the in-laws are her parents. So for me, when my grandma was in bed rest, my dad and his two brothers, so my uncles, they were taking turns taking care of my grandma, while my aunts on my dad's side of the family, I mean, they're around, they help here and there, but they're not expected per se. Obviously, my grandma's still their mom, they love her, but just the whole society norm is that it's not their business, like put it in simple terms. So there is a saying, say, 嫁出去的女儿像泼出去的水. So basically, like when a daughter gets married to another family, it's like the water you spill on the ground. It's like they are not returning. Now the daughter belongs to another family, and that leads to why I'm sure you've heard of it. Is Chinese culture, people prefer sons than having daughters. 重男轻女. It's also because of this as well. So basically, if you have a daughter, you are almost the mindset could be that you are raising your daughter for another family, for her future husband's family. But I would say again, this is all the traditional beliefs and values. Now I would say still some families still have that belief, but I would say it's getting less common, right? Would you say, YaoYao?
I want to share. I feel like it depends how traditional you are. I feel like my family, it's kind of traditional. Okay, so let me ask you, when you got married, did your mom say anything to you?
Say anything to me? No.
Yeah, like you are gone. It's because my mom said that to me. She said the exact same thing what you said earlier. 嫁出去的女儿是泼出去的水. Like you're just it's gone. And then I was so hurt. I was like, what? So I don't want to use a strong word like hate, but I dislike that saying because I feel like, why does that have to be, But it's a custom, it's a culture thing. But I was like, but I still feel like I am your daughter.
Oh, hey. Okay.
But
Okay, so this is Jennifer.
Hi. How are you doing?
I was gonna say, do you want to fill her in what we're saying, and she can share her upbringing as well? Because I feel like my family is less traditional from what I'm gathering, right? Like when I got married, 我们没有那种什么奉茶，然后那些all the supposedly wedding 繁文缛节吗？ Is that what I'm saying? I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't have
我
that
也没有
either.
呀，我也没有，因为那表示我们三个都没有非常 traditional。因为瑶瑶你应该比较 traditional 吧，就是你结婚的时候。
No, I don't have that tea ceremony either. But I was saying earlier, my mom did say that 你是泼出去的水, so I was really hurt because I feel like I still belong to the family. I'm still your daughter, but it's just like a cultural norm that
You're taking on different last name.
yes, different last name. You belong to your husband's family now, right?
Yeah. I think for me, I feel the same way when I got married, and especially, my husband, he's Caucasian, right? So not only I am like just completely out the door, I'm out of the country, I'm out of the culture, and I'm taking on a completely different last name, and I feel like my connection, at least with my family, they kind of view me as that you need to, put your other family at first, and think about them first. And then when there's holiday gathering, check with their schedule, that kind of thing. And even though my parents are in Taiwan and then my in-laws they're in Illinois, but still it's I feel like it's that balance of I feel like I'm still very much tied to them, but they're just like kind of ready to say, hey, you need to move on. But I feel like it does take maybe the first year I feel more so of that change. But then in year 2, year 3, for me, I kind of like reel myself back in. I'm like putting myself back into their conversation and be like, hey, tell me where you guys are doing for the vacation. Like, can we join you guys? That kind of thing. And yeah, but
Okay, I know, Trista, something Jennifer can share. Okay, so she has a sister. Okay, so she's the middle one. She has an older sister and she has a younger brother. Because Trista and I were discussing 重男轻女. I think Jennifer can share that. She has a little brother, and
so
I know
yeah.
the parents very 重男轻女.
Yeah, they are. So, like, my brother, he's the golden child, like, truly the golden child, because he's the only male grandson in our entire family. Because all of our aunties, uncle, they all have daughters. And so my brother was born, immediately he got this 3-story home. Like just
Wow.
right out, like just from the birth of him, he got this 3-story home with a nice storefront. And in Taiwan, like how much you could really rent, for like the first floor, like the storefront, like you could get a lot of rental income, passive income from that. So then he immediately got that. It's under his name, like the kid is not even mature, right? Like just he's just born, just being born. And then I know my grandparents gave another house under my mom's name. So it's kind of like my brother got one, my mom, being the mom, got one. And then this is what I found out later. Then I'm like, well, what about like me and my sister? Come on, like we're being around, and we're 10 years apart. So I'm like, we've been around for 10 years. Like, what do we get for being around this long? And but anyway, it was an eye opener. Like just the fact that you have something that I guess I don't. You're a male, I'm a female. And now I have to say that I think because my parents were very conscientious about the fact that my brother, when he was born, obviously everything that comes with him, the grandparents, the house, they're actually quite strict with him. Like they were afraid that he was gonna grow out to be like this kid who is not respectful with elder and then not being careful with money, and think that he can just essentially being disobedient and disrespectful to his even sisters, right? Like for us, right, in our generation. And so my parents were actually quite strict with him. So I have to say, like, he grew up to be like, he had to help out. If we're doing dishes, like he's like wiping the table down. And then if we're helping the house chores, like he had to help as well. So he didn't get a pass on that. The only time he get a pass was just obviously just the monetary value of what he will get. And then obviously his all the loves goes to him when we see the grandparents, like they only see him, right? And so that was definitely a 重男轻女 part
Yeah.
of of my experience growing up.
I think it's something to do with about a last name. Yes, I mean, Taiwan, I feel like the females don't really change their last names anymore, but in America it's more common. Like I changed my last name too. I'm also a Lai. My last name is Lai. But I changed it to my
Oh,
husband's.
okay.
But I think it's something to do with like almost a family legacy, right? Because the idea of once you get married, you marry into another family. So you no longer belong to your original family. So I guess 重男轻女 might have something to do with like, oh, this is our family legacy. We need to continue to pass it on. While as a female, you don't have that. It's very unfortunate. I do agree it's not fair. But I guess like with your brother being born, he was the only, right? The only son
Yeah.
for the
He's
entire
the
big
only grandson. Yep.
ah, wow. So I know for me, I'm the
Yeah.
oldest. 我有个弟弟一个妹妹。Didi, my younger brother, is in the middle. And I know my parents were actually hoping for, like the more the merrier, the more son, the better, right? So they were hoping for another son. But I mean, it was my sister. It was fine. I mean, they love us all equally. We didn't really have that. Like my grandparents all treated, I think so slightly, I could tell, like, like maybe pay a slightly more attention or to my brother. But like overall growing up, we're all fairly treated, I would say. So I feel very fortunate. But like the monetary, right? You said so. Yes, my dad, like whenever my grandparents when they passed, their properties, their land, it was under my brother's name as well. But we just I don't know. Yeah
I think it's because you can carry on the last name, right? Because the
yeah.
girls, you can't carry on the last name. So my daughter, when my daughter was born, she's the first granddaughter in just our family. But like just counting like all the cousin, she's like the sixth girl. And then Paola, my sister-in-law's daughter, she's like the seventh. And then there's comes my son Jace. So they were like, oh, he is like the only boy in the family. Counting so grandparents, so it's the second generation. He is like the only boy. So every time we go back to Taiwan, it's like 8 cousins, 7 girls, the only boy. But they treat him fairly though. They treat him like all equally. But sometimes they'll say, my in-laws will be like, "Oh, only boy, you have to make sure you parent him very well. All the manner, okay? When we go back to Taiwan, manner. He's our only boy." They'll make some comments like that. So
Well,
still a little bit 重男轻女.
so it's funny, like honestly, like so same my brother, right, grew up with all the cousins, all females, and like they would be elder, like making jokes like make sure he's not like 娘娘腔, grow up to be like 娘娘腔. This is like why? Just because like he's surrounded by women. But anyway, if anything, like I think make them actually be very I don't know. Like I feel like my brother, he's a 中文是软男, right? So like I think he's very warm, he's very 体贴, like very sweet to all, to girls in general. And 他不会 like 大男人主义, right? So he doesn't think like I'm the king of the Lai family because I carry on the last name, but he's actually very sweet, very just very 体贴, towards, female in general. And then of course to his wife. So yeah, I there's a benefit to that for sure for people that's around them. But
Trista, do you think
Mhm.
大男人主义 it's more Asian culture, or you think like American culture too? And how do you translate that? 大男人主义.
I think that would be like men chauvinist, right? Someone who's,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like a man chauvinist. Yeah.
I don't know, actually. So,
Because I know, like, if we're stereotyping, okay, I'm just saying stereotyping. People will say, okay, Japanese, like Japanese men, they're very 大男人主义. I'm the boss. I'm the one making, breadwinner or whatever, and the woman's very like, oh, submissive, right? That's kind of like stereotype. I'm sure, maybe not so much anymore. But so I maybe it's more like Asian family. I'm not sure if American are not as bad.
I don't know, but I mean, I'm I'm a firm believer that like you choose the I mean, I don't know if you typically choose a husband that's more like your own father or not, but it's like it kind of what you're used to, your upbringing. Like at least in my family, like our like 对外, I feel like my mom give my dad a lot of face value, like 面子, right? But then like when we're in 对里面, right? In at home, my mom wears a pants. She's like the 武则天. She's like the 武则天, right? Like whatever she says, thou shall do, okay? But she give a lot of face value to my dad. People think my mom is this humble, this just soft-spoken lady, and my dad is just this big boss that calls the shots. Because I mean, him and my great uncle, they have a real estate company, and my dad has this very stern face, like a 老板 kind of like a look to him, right? But then like, when he get home, he's like helping my mom with this, like he's like carrying stuff for my mom, and my mom essentially calls the shot. So I think it could be two-sided, you think?
Yeah,
yeah.
I would say every stereotype. It's not 100%. I mean, there are tons of Asian or Japanese men, Taiwanese, Chinese men that are super
Yeah.
nice, just like your dad. You give, and it's kind of cute that your mom, like, they know how to operate. When I'm outside, like, give me that face,
Yeah.
面子, but then at
Yeah.
home, I'll be your servant.
Yeah,
That type of thing.
exactly.
I love that.
I just think it's funny.
So at home, my parents. So I feel my dad's a very contradicting person per se. So I feel like he is being like tied up, or he cares about the social norms a lot, or the customs. So being a male, he thinks traditionally, like my mom as a wife, right, need to take care of everything inside the house, do the cooking, taking care of the kids and all that, right? But that's what he believes. He thinks that's what should be, but he actually does it all. Growing up, my dad always does the cooking, and so my mom, both my parents worked, and then my mom, she is a realtor, so she's always out, especially on the weekends and like after hours, because of when people can actually, look at houses and things like that. My dad, being a professor teaching, he has a summer off, he has more breaks, and then the hours are more fixed, right? So a lot of times is the like taking care of kids, bedtime, drop off, pick up, like the traditionally mom's job. He does it all. Like he did it all. But in the same time, he complains. Never happy. Like he does it because I mean he has to, right? But he never asked my mom to stop doing what she did or what she was doing, because he respected her to have her own space, her own career, right? He allowed her to do it, but in the same time, he was not happy. In the same time, he was not satisfied. So that's why I say contradicting. Like he feels like he needs, like he's like living in this box, and he cannot do this, but he has to because he has responsibilities. He loves his children, us, and so it's just growing up. It's a very twisted, interesting dynamic. Does that make sense? Like like seeing what my dad is doing, how much he's contributed to the family is like it's amazing, it's incredible. But the way he delivered it, or the way he feels about it, it just like he just was not happy.
That kind
He
of
would do
brought
it.
me to one point. I just suddenly remember something do you feel like, and sorry, this is another stereotype, I'm sure it's not every man, but do you feel like this is the cultural or the norm that men, like Asian men, they feel like, hey, I have to do it because it's on my shoulder. Kind of back to that 大男人主义, right? I'm the man. I supposed to take care of my kids,
Yep.
my family. I need to bring in the money and do whatever I can because I'm the man. So I think that kind of relates to that too, 大男人主义, right? What do you think?
Right. I'm sure the environment and then like it has a lot to do the social norms. It definitely puts a lot of pressure on people as well. Yeah. And then when you say 面子, right? Like in Chinese culture, right? They would say 贱内. 贱内 is a word like to describe the wife, right? Basically, it's like, oh, my insignificant wife, right? Right. But
I don't know if when was the last time I heard of that term?
right. Yeah, but I mean,
好像没有听过, but yeah.
Dad never uses that word, but I feel like the way he treats my mom outside almost feels like that. Like he calls the shots. He says commander. He tells my mom what to do, and my mom needs to do it outside. Almost just like to prove he's the man. Does that make sense? Like he does not use that word, but like I could feel like that's what he believes in, or that's the way he presents it.
That's like ego.
Yeah.
Ego.
Yeah.
自尊.
I would say.
自尊.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, because he is doing, I guess, the normal womanly, what a woman of the house, like 女主人 would do, right? Taking care of the kids, cooking the dinner. And I don't know if that's region or country, because you know how a lot of people say 上海男人很体贴. Like Shanghai man, they cook the food, they treat their wife so well. So I don't know if that's also, by country, even with among Asians, right? We have certain region of people, we say, hey, they treat their wife so well, and other regions may be more, 大男人主义. So I don't know, but
yeah,
there's
sometimes
always exceptions.
For sure, and there's like culture for sure. But I feel also generational too, because I would say so I came here as an exchange student, so I had a host family, right? So my host dad, he is a really kind man, like love him, he's great. But just at home, you could see the family dynamic is like my host mom. She's always does the cooking. She's always cleaning during the holiday, Christmas, right? I mean, that's just the way it works out for them, right? They found a balance. But he would just be watching TV while my host mom was dealing with all the cooking, all the running around, cleaning. But if being an outsider, if you just see this, what's happening, you probably not knowing who they are, you probably be judgmental to my host dad. So like he never disrespected her, never thought that she was lesser than him. So I don't know. Sometimes it's family dynamic, right? Like there's stay-home mom. There's some families a stay-home dad as well. It just what works out the best for each family. But knowing them as individually, and it works out for them. So I guess I sometimes 大男人主义 sometimes it's like almost like a job allocation per se, right? Just like in each family, right? Like they figure out a way that works best for them, and they don't think otherwise. They think it's fine, it's a norm. So I don't. And then my host dad never really disrespect my host mom per se, right? Like he never thought lesser, like he never disrespected her, never thought of her as anything other than him. Some families a stay-home dad as well, and what works out the best for each family.
Yeah, so your what you just say actually reminds me a lot of what my aunt and my uncle, how they operate and how they interact. Like my auntie in Chicago, she was a stay-home mom for the longest time, right? Up until kids were middle school. And then she started getting involved with real estate. And then next thing you know, she's buying houses like from for sale, right? From court, from for sale real estate. And then she flipping houses. Like, so she was like, I would say by several years down the road, she was like, she was bringing home the bacon. she was making the money tenfold of what my uncle would make. Yet when she comes home from downtown, she still does the cooking and the cleaning and the dishes, the laundry. And then my uncle, he sits on the couch, but he does get involved with the house remodeling, right? He's in charge of that. But one thing that my aunt really gave me as a word of advice when I got married to Brian, my husband, she advised me that whatever housework that I do not want to take on, I do or do not, I have to be very clear and kind of define that like right in the beginning of our marriage. And so I think it helps, like when you're a working wife or a working mom, you kind of have that discussion, or you have that natural allocation, like you said, of your role and your task, your job, right, within the house. So if that carries into when you guys have kids, then I think that sometimes helps quite a bit in terms of allocation of kind of keeping a balance between the husband and the wife, like what they do on their tasks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So I think this will conclude our episode for today, just discussing about family value. I know Trista has to go back to teach. And I want to let you guys know, we're going to bring Jennifer back the next episode because I have so much questions I want to ask her, and I know she's going to bring so much value to all the listeners, like teaching kids Mandarin wise. So she has a lot to share, and we'll bring her back next episode.
I'll do my best, as long as we're not making my kids speak like right on the spot. They may just...
No, it's just gonna be you. They won't be here.
Sounds good.
Okay, bye.
Thank you for having me. It was nice talking to you both, and nice meeting you, Trista.
Yeah, we'll talk next episode.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you everyone for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you love our podcast, we would love for you to leave a review. It will mean so much for us. Any word of encouragement and support, it will keep us going. If you have any questions, email us at hello@mandarintogethernow.com. We will try to answer anything. If you have any topic you want to talk about, please let us know. You can also find us on social media, Instagram, Facebook. It is Mandarin Together Now. I will link everything in the show notes, so you can just click, follow us, DM us. We also made this cute dim sum flashcards, and grab it from our show notes. All right, bye.